This is what I know to be true so far, the show that inspires you to awaken the magic within and consciously create a life you love on your terms. Join me and my guests as we share awakened experiences, the life lesson wisdom bites, and sacred practices that we've learned along the way to consciously creating the life we love. I'm your host, Kerry Ann Mackenzie, a multi-passionate mystic, a creative, a nature connector, a soul-led business owner, and a spiritual magic maker. I'm so grateful to have you with me on the journey to awakening the magic within with what I know to be true so far. Hello and welcome to today's episode of What I Know to Be True So Far. I'm Kerry Ann Mackenzie, your host. As you know, I'm going to dive right in today because I feel so excited to share this episode. It's one of their introductory episodes, and I made it one of the introductory episodes because it's very much at the core of everything that I teach and also everything that I live by. And today's episode, we're going to be exploring alignment and alignment living and what that all means, because there is a different way to look at alignment depending on what person you're talking to and what they know to be true so far. So alignment and alignment living, it's such an interesting concept that I discovered many years ago when I was, oh my goodness, it was Jess Lively. I was a student of Jess Lively's. She is remarkable. She is amazing. And she changed my world. I remember listening to one of her episodes. I think it was on Law of Attraction. And I was just like, fudge. My whole life, I have been tripping out on how when I think of something I want or when I set an intention, and this is before I was awakened, right? This is just in my normal life. I would think of something that I wanted or consciously bring something to my mind. And within a very short amount of time, the exact thing would happen or show up in my life. And everyone around me just thought I was the biggest weirdo. My ex-husband, who didn't think I was a weirdo, he didn't think that at all, or maybe he did. I don't really know. He would say to me, "You're like a witch." Like you're like a full-on witch. Like when you say, "I think this will happen," or "this is going to happen," it did. And I mean like weird stuff, like really weird stuff. I knew years before he was going to work for Kelly Slater that he was going to work for Kelly Slater. And I told him that. And when it came true, I was not even surprised. But it's just all of these things would happen. And yes, some of it also was my intuitive or psychic gifts or abilities to know things, but also it's like a law of attraction aspect, right? And so when I was listening to these Jess Lively episodes, maybe 7 years ago or something now, and she was talking about law of attraction, I was like, oh my God, that's it. That's the thing that explains why I can think something and then it would show up exactly as I thought it in sometimes years, but sometimes a short amount of time. So I started going down this rabbit hole of exploring law of attraction, and that's where I learned about alignment. Because if you know Abraham Hicks's work, she's always talking, Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham Hicks, she's always talking about being in alignment, and she references being in alignment to being in alignment with higher vibrational frequencies. So with love, joy, and all these things. And that's really amazing. And that's really great. And that really serves at a certain level of consciousness and at a certain level of soul evolution. That really serves to methodically manipulate your mind and your way of being to align with higher frequencies so that you can attract good experiences into your life. I won't get into what I think the pros and cons are of that way of living just yet. I will in future episodes. But that concept of law of attraction alignment is really looking at how can you align yourself with higher frequencies so that you can attract higher frequency experiences and material things into your life. And so in that journey of, understanding of alignment, there's always this idea that you can consciously create from a place of intention. And this I really get on board with because I have been able to do that in my life, and I have been able to consciously create. And I'm being careful to use the words consciously create versus manifestation, because I think manifestation now has a bit of a negative context to it. And I want to try not to reference that word a lot, although absolutely what happens a lot of the time. But to come back to alignment and alignment living, this concept of alignment living is really looking at lining up with what you want to create in your life. So alignment is coming into align with something. Alignment living is looking at, if I am a whole human experience, then I'm made up of my mind, my ego, my emotions, my hormones, my soul, my inner being, my body. And I'm also surrounded by an environment, and that's my physical environment, my online environment, my friend environment, my home environment, my natural environment around me, Mother Earth. And then also the environment of the universe. So the astral environment or the spiritual environment or the dimensional environment that we don't see in our 3D dimensional human experience. It still makes up part of me as a holistic human having a human experience. So when I talk of alignment, I make reference to aligning all of those aspects of me, Carrie Ann McKenzie, with what it is that I want to create in my life. So if I've got something that I want to consciously create, I would intentionally align my mind, ego thoughts, my soul, inner being, my body, and my environment with what it is that I intentionally want to create in my life. Now, that's one aspect of alignment. So that is consciously and deliberately managing the mind, the connection to my soul, the body, and the environment with what it is that I'm trying to create. But there's another aspect that we don't often take into consideration with alignment, is that we live in this universe of positive and negative. So our alignment is constantly being influenced and impacted by positive and negative. There are always going to be positive and negative influences because I live in a world of contrast. I live in a universe where there is light and there is dark and there is those polarities of all kinds of positive and negative. I'm not saying good or bad. I often see a lot of negatives as good things because I have an opportunity to expand and grow from them. So when we're experiencing alignment and our alignment is constantly ebbing and flowing with these influences of positive and negative aspects, it's our responsibility to witness that going on and to not have an attachment to it, and to also embody that that is an opportunity to come back into alignment. So if our alignment of our mind, our soul, our body, and our environment is in alignment with the intention of the kind of life we want to create, but there's like positive and negative things happening on either side all the time, influencing that, it's our job to be aware, to witness, to notice, to not attach, and then come back into alignment. And so I'll give you like a practical example of how this works. Let's say you're super bad with your finances, but you want to start to become a good steward of money. You want to become somebody who manages your money really well. And so you start to do a lot of work to align yourself. You're aligning your mind with someone who thinks the way that someone who manages their money well thinks. You're lining your soul up with taking intuitive guidance to take action about managing your money better. You're lining your body up. You're making optimal conditions for your body to have the energy to go and manage your money correctly. And you're surrounding your environment in a way that creates flow of abundance through your physical environment in your office space and home, but also you're decluttering all of your financial records and managing them, and also surrounding yourself with people that have positive money habits and social and online environments where there's people who have positive money management habits as well. So when you do that, you're in alignment. And I promise you, when you're in that kind of alignment, the only outcome is that you manage your money well. That's it. If you get all of that alignment, mind, soul, body, environment together with what it is that you're trying to create, which is good money management, you can't help but do that. It just is the way of how it works, according to what I know to be true so far. So let's say you're on that path and you're in alignment, but then something comes into your world that is negative. And it's just this natural thing that's popped up. Like maybe it's a relative who's just like complaining like constantly about money and how there's never any money and it's so hard to manage your money and blah, 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 blah. Just negative Nancy money talk. And in that moment, you can listen to what they say and you can take that negative influence and allow it to derail you and to engage in that negative money conversation and starting to get down on yourself and, oh, it's never going to work for me. And now it's entered into your thoughts and you've got all these negative thoughts happening. It's your job to be the observer of that negative influence, to notice it's there and to come back into alignment, back to thinking in a constructive, positive way about managing money. Whatever you think creates those feelings in your body, and those feelings and emotions will determine the outcomes of your scenarios or the things that you're doing, right? So when you come back into alignment, notice that negativity and just be like, cool, right. And actually, Denise Duffield Thomas who's a money expert, she has this really cool tool. It's called bean dipping. It's like a practice where you redirect the flow of conversation to be about something completely different if someone is just like super negatively money talking. And when you do that, you bring yourself back into alignment. And so instead of carrying the weight of the negativity and allowing that to derail you, you just notice it and you become an observer, and then you bring yourself back into alignment. You consciously come back into that place that you have agreed with yourself, to intentionally align yourself to be someone who is positive about money and has good money management systems and actions and practices in place. And you bring yourself back into the alignment. So when you're moving in the world, it's not just going to be that one person that starts talking negatively. There are positive and negative influences available around us all the time. And for anyone who thinks that they can bypass that, you won't, because we live in a world of positive and negative influences, and it's just the way that it is. Now, you can have a lot of positive influences surround yourself constantly by things that are reaffirming your alignment to what it is you're trying to create. But that never means that you're never going to have a negative experience, because your soul also came here to do a little bit of growing. It didn't just come here to have everything super easy. It came here to do a little bit of growing. And so whether you like it or not, you will have negative experiences. Sometimes those negative experiences, if you have been doing a lot of spiritual growth and a lot of conscious awakening, you'll find that the negative experiences that you have will lessen over time. Like if you've done loads of expansion, unless your soul is here for hardcore human experience, which unfortunately some souls are, your lessons will in life, if you learn from them as you go, they will become less intense. And so by the time you've been consciously developing your soul over like a 10, 20-year period, you might find that the negative experiences you're having, they're not so intense. I definitely know the lessons I was having in my early 20s. Like, whoa, like they were freaking intense. But over 20 years of growing, or 15 to 20 years of growing, developing and expanding my consciousness, those negative influences, lessons, they're not so intense. But I still have to come back into alignment all the time. I still have to be consciously aware and witnessing those positive and negative influences around me and returning back into alignment. And if you're someone who wants to explore this idea of alignment living, I want to give you this little wisdom bite that I have, which is don't ever judge yourself for getting out of alignment. Do not judge yourself for doing something that is not aligned with the intention of what it is you're trying to create, because you're human and you didn't come here as a perfect human. And so you will make mistakes. And I have made many, and I continually still make mistakes. I am so far from perfect. And if you can let yourself live in that space of non-judgment and forgiveness, it's so much easier to come back into alignment, to come back into this space of consciously choosing the thoughts you want to have, of consciously connecting to your intuition, of consciously caring for your body in a way that allows you to show up for yourself, in consciously creating an environment for you that allows you to live the life that you want on your terms. It gets a lot easier. And so all of this alignment work needs to be done with the biggest, warmest, compassionate heart, because it isn't easy. And you will fall victim to negative influences, and you might go down rabbit holes that are super negative that make you spiral. And that's okay. Your ability to notice when that's happened and come back to alignment is going to be so much easier if you can just accept and love yourself in that space. And one other thing that I haven't spoken about with alignment living and positive and negative influences is this wonderful world of the, what I like to call the astral or spiritual environment, because you will be influenced by the positive and negative ebbs and flows of the astral environment and the spiritual environment. So I really like to be mindful of what's going on in the astral environment, because if I feel like things are going tits up in my life and I look at, if I'm in alignment, is there something going on with the way I'm thinking, or am I disconnected to my soul or my intuition, or am I neglecting my body's wellness? And I'm not doing anything out of alignment in those areas, and my environment's set up well, all of that. I've kind of researched and checked where things could be out of alignment. Usually what it is will be something going on in the astral environment. And then there's also the multidimensional environment, which does influence us, and the collective consciousness, which also influences us. But to go down that path and explain that at this point would be a whole other episode. And so one thing I want to share is when you're doing this alignment work and you kind of work out, oh my gosh, I can line up everything in my life to get what I want. If I line myself, my mind, my body, my intuition, my soul, and my environment with what it is that I want to create, it'll come to me. You'll get super impatient when it doesn't come quick. And so I want to just invite you to be mindful that all in good time is a saying that is so important to really foster in your life. Because if you let yourself be in the space of trust, you will know that everything you're experiencing, whether it is positive or negative, they're all lessons that help your soul expand and grow. And so trusting that you will have the manifestations, or you will consciously create what it is that you want when you have grown and learned the lessons along the way. And so it really becomes about enjoying the process. And there's also an element of divine timing to all of this as well. And that is often out of our control. And so if you can have that element of enjoying the process and noticing and understanding that all is happening for the purpose of you, your growth, your elevation, all of that. If you can keep all of that in mind, you won't try to grasp on and control and get like a little crazy with this alignment work, which can happen. And I have seen it happen where people obsess over it instead of using it as like a tool to lightly help them move and guide them through life with intentional living and conscious creation. So allowing yourself the grace when you're out of alignment, really important. Understanding that timing has an element because you do need to still experience and grow in life. You also need to be in that space of receptivity where you've evolved enough that you can hold the container for what it is that you're trying to receive. And using alignment and coming back to alignment as a tool to keep you on track and to ensure that you're moving in the right direction at all times in a conscious creation way and not in like a default falling into negativity or derailing or sabotaging, which we'll talk a lot about in future episodes. So that's really a basic introduction to alignment work. We're going to talk so much about alignment work, something that I have been teaching and exploring for almost 6 years now, and I live, breathe, and love this stuff. And I think that having this space to share what I know to be true so far in regards to all kinds of beautiful mystical topics, but especially alignment work, will really help anybody who is trying to consciously create their magical life. So if you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, subscribe, send it to your friends. I will be doing some free workshops on alignment work in the future, so go over and join my mailing list if you would like to stay up to date or have access to the free workshops on alignment. And if you are interested in being a guest on the podcast, please reach out to me or go to my website and you can put an application in there to be on the podcast and share what you know to be true so far. And sending you blessings and love and joy and all the wonderful good things and unconditional compassion and support if you are navigating the very difficult things right now. Until next time, remember, take a breath, spend time in nature, connect to your inner wisdom, and keep exploring what you know to be true so far.